Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Ninja Knight. Make sure you like the video, make sure you share the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you. So in news that broke this morning through media outlets, Sky News have now reported on this story. They say Cineworld could close all cinemas in the UK and US this week. Of course, Sky News forget that the UK and Ireland are completely separate entities yet again, but no surprise. The industry has been struggling during the pandemic and has taken another knock after the latest Bond film was pushed back. So this is reported by Emily Mee. So a pity that Emily doesn't know that Ireland and the UK are completely separate entities. But nevertheless, we shall power through. Cineworld is considering closing all of its cinemas in the UK and US this week, along with Ireland, because of the impact of Beerbug. A company statement said, "We can confirm we are considering the temporary closure of our UK and US cinemas, but a final decision has not yet been reached. Once a decision has been made, we will update all staff and customers as soon as we can." Now, as I said, when I woke up this morning, this information was already in the media. It was on social media through various different outlets. So people that have woken up this morning have figured out that their jobs are actually very much so at risk without the company actually talking to them directly, which is absolutely appalling. The news comes after the announcement that upcoming Bond film No Time to Die has been pushed back to April after it was set to be released in cinemas next month. So interesting that the way they're trying to pin it on No Time to Die, even though that was a movie that I think a lot of people were a little bit skeptical about, given that that was going to go down a woke route. Subsequently, that we have had some woke storytelling this year that a lot of people just don't seem interested in, like Wonder Woman 1984, Mulan, and you've had maybe some of this stuff cropping up now on Black Widow, with the recent comments from Kate Shortland, the director there, saying that Black Widow is the only superhero within the Avengers that has no superpowers. So it's easy to see what's going on there. The closure of all Cineworld's 128 UK and Ireland cinemas, as if Ireland is part of the UK, which it is not, would put up to 5,500 jobs at risk. So my heart and my sympathies goes out to each and every one of those individuals, because I have had nothing but pleasant experience with the staff that have worked at these venues. Now, have the clientele that have been there, in terms of the people that are the general population that go and see these, behaved well? Absolutely not, and I will talk about that later. The decision may be announced as early as Monday, with the chain's bosses preparing to write to Boris Johnson and Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden to say the industry has become unviable. What about here? Is anybody going to contact anybody here in the Irish government and tell them that this is a big problem? The Irish government will sit by and do nothing, but nevertheless, worth a go. Cinemas were closed in March when the UK went into a national lockdown, but reopened in England on 4th of July. The industry has struggled during the beer bug crisis, and last month Cineworld announced half-year losses of $1.6 billion, £1.3 billion, no figure in euros. Great job, Sky News. There was solid demand for Christopher Nolan's action thriller Tenet last month, but the postponement of the latest Bond film's release will have been a huge knockback for cinemas. The film's producer said that the change was to allow it to be seen by a worldwide theatrical audience. They've also gone in and done some reshoots after some of the plot had leaked, and some woke elements of that movie seemed to surface. The trailer seemed to corroborate that whole statement, so it would be interesting to see if the leaks and the final product end up being the same thing. On Friday, the highly anticipated Fast and Furious sequel F9 was also delayed again. Highly anticipated Fast and Furious sequel, really? While Disney's live-action version of Mulan was released on Disney Plus last month rather than in theatres, and it got absolutely mauled. Cineworld Action Group, which is run by employees of the cinema chain, claimed there was no consultation with staff whatsoever on the apparent decision. That is absolutely disgraceful. But you're seeing an awful lot of companies and a lot of so-called unions making decisions that have no benefit for anybody that's within those unions or within those jobs. This is the world we're living in now. We have found out vital information about our jobs from the media throughout the pandemic. Workers have been left out of discussions that should have included our voices, they wrote on Twitter. Absolutely they should have. And these people need to be supported 100%. The group also alleged that members of staff were sacked by scripted phone calls in March, and that health and safety concerns were consistently ignored. Cineworld previously said it had used government support schemes to support the wages of its 37,000 staff during lockdown. This is awful stuff, and I have to say, it's no surprise when you look at some of the things I've been saying on my channel, and that I've been saying that the way the theatre industry, the way Hollywood have been acting, has certainly added fuel to this fire and added to this problem. But also, these restrictions have definitely not helped whatsoever. So Cineworld decided to say that they said we can confirm we are considering the temporary closure of our UK and US cinemas. Of course, no comment about Ireland whatsoever. Absolutely ludicrous. But a final decision has not yet been reached. Once a decision has been made, we will update our staff and customers as soon as we can. Now, that is the same comment that Sky decided to use, and like I said when I got up this morning, this news was already out. This was going through the media, going through social media, so it's interesting to see that they lifted this comment from there rather than saying, look, you've been treating the workers very poorly during this. Now, what has added to this, and this is something I've been talking about in recent times, the lack of quality from Hollywood, the lack of quality scripts, the lack of quality acting, celebrities shouting their mouths off and opening their mouths and spouting on Twitter and various other social media platforms has turned general audiences away. The move to streaming is also another big factor, because when you factor in what happens at a cinema in itself, you have to realise that sitting at home, and if you're getting direct to TV material, why would you go to a cinema? Now, I personally have been to cinemas all my life, and I absolutely love the cinema. But what I've seen in the last couple of years has been increases in tickets prices that have given you a product that's not been great. I mean, look at The Last Jedi. High price ticket for an absolutely abysmal product. The same with Star Trek in recent years. The same with the Transformers Bumblebee movie, which was appalling. Some of the MCU movies, which have been appalling. Some of the DC movies, which have been appalling. And the various other things like the likes of Ghostbusters and the various reboots with different casts, gender swap casts, race swap casts, and people just don't go and see them. That is one problem. The next problem is, for a family day out that you're going to have in one of these places, it is very high cost if you're talking about the ticket prices, the food, and the general ability to get there. So a lot of families are more than happy to be at home with these streaming services. The third thing that I'm going to talk about is the behaviour of the patrons that go to these places. Now, because cinemas are now understaffed, and because they were already squeezed tight for the likes of staffing, people have behaved horribly in theatres. Talking, being on phones, being disruptive, coming into screenings that they're not supposed to be in, causing chaos, mayhem, dirtying the seats, etc. The general behaviour of the population that go to these cinemas is absolutely appalling, and for someone like me, when I want to sit down and watch a movie, I want to be fully engaged in that movie, I want to be lost in that movie, and that's what I want to do. I do not want to see some moron on their phone in the corner of my eye in a dark theatre, scrolling through it. I do not want to see some moron on the phone talking to somebody during a movie. I do not want some moron sitting beside me talking throughout the whole movie. I do not want somebody to send a group of children into a movie theatre and for them to cause absolute havoc and chaos. I do not want to be in a cinema with another individual that's decided to bring a screaming child to a movie that they actually are well under the age for. That's what's all contributed to this whole thing. The general slipping of the behaviour of general public that have gone to these movies have definitely turned cinema goers off. And because that hasn't been enforced, people have just decided to walk away from it rather than getting into arguments with these morons, and essentially these morons don't go to places often enough to keep them afloat. You know what I'm saying? So that's not helped. Now, like I said earlier on, you do have the problem with the Hollywood elite at the minute trying to pontificate and tell the Joe public, the average pleb, what to be thinking. And a lot of people look at that like myself and say, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I just won't go and see that movie now. The likes of Aquaman 2. I wouldn't be purchasing a ticket to that movie if Amber Heard is still there, given what she's been up to. Know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be purchasing a ticket to go and see The Rock's Black Adam now, after he condoned the likes of Jacob Blake and then went on and race swapped Hawkman. I'm not interested in that. Now, what else has been a factor to this as well too is actually TV. Television series have become far better than a lot of movies. You have a lot of time to plan out a story, you have a lot of time to spend with characters, and ultimately, you have people that will grow closer to that character and grow closer to that series. Case in point being The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian has been widely successful because it was about, I suppose, a lot of hours of Star Wars that you could watch and sit back and enjoy in the comfort of your own home. And even though it was a basic story, it was a story that an awful lot of people enjoyed. Similarly, for a number of seasons of Game of Thrones, that was quite enjoyable until it officially jumped the shark and Dan and Dave actually had no clue what to do. Now, when you look back at some absolutely phenomenal pieces of television, like of Sons of Anarchy, Breaking Bad, Rescue Me, and various other TV properties that have been out there that have been pretty solid as they've been moving on. Some of the TV series that have been on Netflix as well too are direct contenders to a lot of what you're seeing in the movies. If you gave me the option of watching a movie with Ben Affleck's Batman, or you gave me the option of watching a TV series with Ben Affleck's Batman where you get to spend many hours with that Batman and Ben Affleck himself, I'm sorry, but it's a no-brainer. I'm going to watch the TV series because I get to spend way more time with that character. I get to be way more invested with him. I get to be way more invested in his world rather than sitting somewhere for an hour and a half and saying, yeah, that was okay, and waiting to see what happens next. I will miss the cinemas for colossal events for the likes of Godzilla vs. Kong because I personally think that that can only be seen on a big screen. But I think ultimately this is going to have to be the new way that Hollywood moves in. I've done a previous video which I went live on that talked about the movie The Gentleman and how that's being made into a TV series now. Now whether that's a sequel, a prequel, or something that is akin to the movie remains to be seen. But you're starting to see companies making moves like this. We have seen the Snyder Cut be announced on HBO Max. That is going to essentially be a TV series that's going to be able to be compiled together into one big movie. Brilliant. Storytelling is going well there. This is the route that we're going to see very soon, in my opinion. And closures like this have just sped it up. I've noticed and forecast that maybe over the next 5 to 10 years that I thought cinema theatres would close. This whole situation with this beer bug has just sped that up. It has left no room for companies to breathe. There has been very many restrictions that have been put on these companies. Now whether you think they're right or they're wrong is up to your own personal beliefs. But like I said, trying to trust Joe Public to go into places and behave accordingly, it's not possible anymore because there's a very big lack of respect and a lack of personal responsibility from people now anymore. They do not think of others, they only think inwardly. That, in my opinion, has contributed to the death of cinema and to the death of these theatres. My heart, my thoughts go out to all of the workers that work so hard within these cinema theatres because they are the people that I am thinking about. I am thinking about those average workers, those people that live paycheck to paycheck, those people that live from week to week, and that have a genuine love of cinema because I have met many of those individuals that have worked in these places over the years. Whom I don't feel sorry for is the likes of the celebrities that have added fuel to this flame and have added people to the list of people that have grown discontent with their politics, with their pontificating, and with their phony, fake ceremonies. And we've seen another, I suppose, final nail in the coffin in recent weeks with this Oscars controversy, this diversity inclusion nonsense that has definitely added to this issue. This is a build-up of issues that was never going to be sustainable, I don't think, for a very long time. And like I said, because everybody wants instant gratification now, the theatres were on their knees as it was, and this just looks like to be the guillotine that has finally come down and taken it out. Sad to say, again, I'm going to reiterate, my thoughts, my hearts go out to those people that work in these industries, on the floor, in these buildings. My deepest condolences, and I hope and I wish you all the best in the future. I am Ninja Knight. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think that it's right that these theatres have been left just to die, or do you think that they should have been supported far more? Do you think that the general behaviour of the population have also attributed to this? Do you think that streaming services are to blame fully for this, or do you think that streaming services are the way forward? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, make sure you share the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you.